Hi all, my name is Haley Comet and welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet where we discuss all things astrology. And today, eclipse season 2021, discussing the lunar eclipse in Taurus, November 19th, 2021, as well as the Sagittarius solar eclipse, December 5th, 2021. And let me tell you why these eclipses are so pivotal and so exciting. A new story is beginning, and the story of the last year and a half is ending. And I'll be breaking down the energetics behind these two eclipses and how they are impacting your chart. There will be timestamps below, rising sign by rising sign. I recommend listening to the first portion where I break down the eclipses as a whole, just so you can gain some context around these particular eclipses, the energy that it holds, because when eclipses are happening, things tend to get rather intense. It gets pretty hectic. So you're going to want to be prepared, as well as have that introspective opportunity to look at what story you're wrapping up for the last year and a half and what your next journey will be. If you don't mind, if there's anything in this video that you learn that makes you feel heard or seen, if you could just drop a like, comment something below, subscribe if you want to. Those little nudges are truly so helpful to me and my channel, and I am forever ever so grateful. Thank you all so much. And without further ado, let's dive in. Eclipse season fall 2021. So these eclipses have been a little bit confusing for my clients when I'm explaining them, because even though we have our first eclipse in Taurus, the North Node has not yet moved officially into Taurus. It will not do so until January. So you can look out for a video around that time of the broad scale journey that is taking place with North Node shifting into Taurus, South Node shifting into Scorpio within tropical astrology. However, because the first eclipse is at 27 degrees and the North Node is in Gemini and the earlier degrees, so much so that it creates an eclipse. That's what an eclipse is a new moon or a full moon conjoining the North or the South Node. And whenever you're looking at an eclipse, you want to see if it's a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse. A lunar eclipse is an eclipse on the full moon, and those are more emotional. They're more points of culmination. It's more like emotionally bubbling up or illuminations that come out of something that you hadn't realized. And solar eclipses tend to be a little bit more external. It typically will have, seismic waves that extend beyond just ourselves. It tends to be more so of collective new beginnings, as well as a new beginning that's more karmic and faded in tone. And if you're a longtime subscriber of me, you're probably so sick of me saying this with every eclipse, but eclipses are not the time to necessarily manifest, because it tends to be more karmic faded shifts that happen at this time. Things that are sort of out of our control. If you are being eclipsed, that's when a drastic change is thrust upon you. Sure, lean into the changes, but a lot of us can feel really hectic during this time, like, oh my goodness, I've got to make a change, I've got to move, I've got to break up with this partner, and we're just sort of wrapped up into the frantic pace of eclipses. It's important to note that eclipses vary in intensity. Not every eclipse is you being eclipsed. You'll know when you're being eclipsed. Everything will be really intense, and drastic changes are sort of being thrust upon you. Like, there will be a feeling at where it's like, okay, it's really now or never. So they vary. Not every eclipse will be the most dramatic, but if you do fall within the following degrees, these might be more dramatic eclipses for you. So the first eclipse, the Taurus Lunar Eclipse, will be felt the most by those who have Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius placements between 22 to 29 degrees, and those who have Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces placements between 0 to 2 degrees. The Sagittarius solar eclipse will be felt the most strongly by those who have Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces placements between 10 to 20 degrees. The other distinction you'll want to make when looking at an eclipse is if it's on the North Node, that signals gain. And if it's on the South Node, that signals loss, sacrifice, letting go. So let's take this into account to the two eclipses. So the first eclipse we'll talk about is November 19th. It is a lunar eclipse in the sign Taurus, and it is on the North Node. Keep in mind, the North Node has not yet shifted into Taurus. The nodes do move backwards in sign, so it's going from Gemini to Taurus in January, But because of its far degrees, it occurs at 27 degrees Taurus, it does conjoin that North Node in Gemini. So because this is the first eclipse of a new cycle that will be ongoing for the next year and a half of Taurus and Scorpio eclipses, a new story is beginning. And with this being the first eclipse, you might get a whisper, an illumination of it. It may not necessarily be the fulfillment of it, but it'll be like that initial call to action, right? It's like, I think of the North Nodes as kind of like your hero's journey for the next year and a half. It typically is sort of faded, drastic changes that you make that bring you closer to your life's purpose, which is why I recommend not necessarily trying to manifest or doing anything crazy during eclipses, because it's typically, especially in traditional astrology, it was considered things that were sort of out of our control, like just sort of flow with the cosmos, because things can be very hectic during this time. So with this hero's journey beginning, I don't want you to feel frustrated around this eclipse journey if you're like, wow, there's so far to go, or gosh, I have this new inspiration, or I have this new download and it's not yet manifesting. This is the journey that will be taking place for you in the next year and a half within the Taurus house within your chart. And I will be breaking it down rising sign by rising sign, what each of these eclipses signal for you and where each of these eclipses fall within your chart. So as I mentioned, lunar eclipses tend to be a little bit more emotional culminations and illuminations, but I don't want you to hear that term culmination and feel like you're meant to be at the finish line of this new journey that's beginning, because it's the whisper of it. It's essentially the invitation of what you'll be working on. So for example, let's say during this lunar eclipse in Taurus, you get this invitation to go on this writing course, and you don't necessarily feel that confident in your writing skills, but it's the beginning of this journey, right? And the eclipses will be a time of sort of feeling closer to that culmination, but don't fret if you're not exactly there. As well as with this first eclipse, it is on the North Node, which signals gain, prosperity, what we're being pushed into. So it could be a download, it could be an epiphany, especially considering that this lunar eclipse does sextile Neptune in Pisces. Pay attention to any prophetic dreams. It trines Pluto in Capricorn. So it could be like sort of a whisper of the new transformation that we're undergoing, the person that we're evolving into, whether it comes through a dream, whether it comes through illumination, or just an inspiration, just a realization. Oh my gosh, this is what I want to work on. This is what I want to move towards. So pay attention to the events that happen around this lunar eclipse, as it'll be sort of a taste of the new journey that you're embarking upon. North Node in Taurus, we're moving into this energy of stability, of craving more security, of living a little bit more simply, of grounding down into our physical bodies and sort of starving fear, starving paranoia, as the South Node will be shifting into Scorpio. So with the Taurus lunar eclipse, I do want you to exercise patience. That's going to be a huge theme of this Taurus, cycle, is just one, Taurus is the bull, so just one little hoof in front of the other. Keep your eye on the finish line, as this lunar eclipse also does square Jupiter. So you could be feeling a little too optimistic about it, like joining the writing course and then getting rid of liquidating all of your life savings in order to invest in being an author fully. I'm not saying you're not going to make your dreams come true throughout this next journey, but this isn't the time to make, drastic changes, because especially with the square to Jupiter, we could be feeling really good about the new journey that's beginning or the inspiration that we're feeling. But think, just ground down in your physical body, take it one hoof at a time. We have a whole year and a half to refine this area of your chart. Take all this inspiration and put it into something, whether it is, journaling about it, talking about it, maybe doing research about it. As I mentioned earlier, eclipses aren't the time that I necessarily recommend taking drastic changes. I always mention this, but eclipse brain is a real thing. Eclipse brain is essentially when individuals run around like chickens with their heads cut off, because the energy is so intense and so volatile that they can feel like they have to make a change. It's like this feeling of being in a sweater and it suddenly feels too tight, like you've suddenly outgrown your life, and it can feel very uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong, eclipses are a time for cosmic course corrections, but they're typically thrust upon you and not necessarily you just doing something drastic and intense out of nowhere. So pay attention to what illuminations come up. Pay attention to your dreams with the sextile to Neptune. Pay attention to this new journey that you're embarking upon. And maybe just put that into journaling or conversation. You have plenty of time to refine this area of your life, one hoof in front of the other. Both of these eclipses do conjoin Mercury, so these eclipses do seem to have a message. And the first seems to be a harbinger of the journey that we are embarking upon. I'm going to say keywords like illumination, culmination. You might feel like oh my gosh, I need to have figured out what my journey is going to be. Not necessarily, but I want you to stay open and aware for clues, particularly with your intuition, with your dreams, as this will be a more spiritual lunation as it does square Jupiter, sextile Neptune. The next eclipse will be in Sagittarius. This is a solar eclipse. And this means that it is on the new moon, which, as I alluded to earlier, this tends to be a little bit more collective, a little bit more external. And it's an interesting eclipse because it's on the south node, which is shedding, releasing, sacrifice, a new moon, which is a fresh start. So the energy of this eclipse very much feels like something that we are shedding in order to collectively have a new start. The cycle that is wrapping up within our lives is the Gemini Sagittarian cycle. And with South Node Sagittarius, there was emphasis upon, belief systems and shedding the ones that are no longer resonant with ourselves. Shedding this feeling that, wisdom is out there. With North Node Gemini, it was, using our brain, leaning into communication, leaning into, differing opinions, being curious, being open to other people's perspectives. This is the excess of information, which is why, media has been so emphasized throughout this lunar cycle. And so with the South Node Sagittarius, individually, there's sort of this energy of this new moon. It's like a vacuum moon, right? It's like sucking out all the dust so that we can move some new furniture in. And with South Node eclipses, it's loss, it's sacrifice. So I'm not going to say it's the most roses and butterflies eclipse ever. And this eclipse does square Neptune. So it's almost this energy around needing to let go of where we felt disillusioned. So it could be having to shed a dream that we've had, something that we really wanted to make work, and it's just not working. And it might be a relationship, might be a creative project, it might be, the city that you're living in. But with South Node Sagittarius, another thing that's being tempered as a result of this nodal cycle is sort of unfounded, illogical optimism. And sorry if you can hear those dogs barking. I guess they're feeling the eclipse vibes as well. So with the square to Neptune, there's this shedding, this disillusionment, and this could be societally disillusionment, feeling like we've been in a haze, being in a dream, and realizing for us to be able to move forward, there might be a belief system we need to shed, an illogical dream we need to shed, or something else that simply is not working in order to create a new start forward. And while it might be disappointing to fall from a dream, to have to feel let down in that way, with the sextile to Saturn and Capricorn, us releasing this area of our life, this project, this initiative, that we realize we just kept ourselves suspended in this false optimism or this false dream, like it's all gonna be okay. It's like almost like a wake-up call around, okay, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I'm trying to force this thing and it's just not for me, and it's gonna create this fresh new start. As the solar eclipse does sextile Saturn and Aquarius, which does give this element of foundation, of security, of being able to feel like we can build something real within our lives because we're shedding and releasing this particular area of our life. And so with this, solar eclipse also conjoining Mercury, there is this energy around a message coming through. And it could be a message, of it's time to let this go. And it can come from ourselves, it can come from someone we love, but there's something in our life that needs to be released. And this is sort of an energy around looking back over the last year and a half and realizing, what you've sacrificed or let go of within the Sagittarius area of your life and what new starts it has created within your life. And I do have a video that talks more on that axis if you're curious more so what the North Node Gemini, South Node Sagittarius axis was about within your chart. So next I'm going to take it rising sign by rising sign where in your chart these eclipses will be hitting. So I will just be mentioning rising sign, but I recommend listening to your sun and your rising signs. Starting with my Aries risings. So my Aries risings, the new cycle that's beginning and the harbinger of the future is the first eclipse, which is November 19th, lunar eclipse in Taurus, and this falls in your second house of money, possessions, and finances. And it's sort of this whisper around building security and stability within your life in a monetary way. And I know particularly in this, industry or, particularly in this field, sometimes people can, demonize the second house for being materialistic, but truly with North Node and Taurus, it's about grounding down into what is stable within our life. Even if lots of things are shaking and moving, being able to orient ourselves to what is stable and being able to invest in ourselves and our money-making abilities, being able to clarify our self-esteem. So for some Aries risings, this journey can be about feeling worthy of abundance, of feeling worthy of money coming in. You can have a hard time, quantifying your prices, whether that is your salary or maybe if you're a business owner and consistently, pricing your offerings too low and feeling that, lack of balance between what you're giving and what you're receiving. This nodal cycle will be a journey around expanding your resources, sure, but the magical things that happen upon that journey of abundance. Because yes, a bigger bank account, who doesn't love that? But there's also this energy around building your own self-esteem, building, clarity in what it is that you offer, building clarity within your value system, things of that nature. So with this first, full moon lunar eclipse, there could be an illumination that you have around money. You can notice a lot more money is, flowing in. You can notice you're having dreams about the new, side hustle you want to create, or a new passive income strategy, or maybe you're embarking upon a new strategy to make money, or maybe just earning money. Maybe you've been supported by other people. And now this new journey is about being able to, contribute in your own way and build some security for yourself. So as well as on that journey, build confidence in what it is that you are creating. Of course, I don't recommend necessarily around this lunar eclipse making drastic, money decisions, as it will square Jupiter. So, you might feel really optimistic about what's sort of permeating within your life, particularly financially, but this isn't the time to necessarily put all your money into, this new cryptocurrency that this influencer has been trying to push your way. Use discernment during eclipses. And with North Node, this new journey going on, some can take this energy to the excess. As with the North Node, it's this very ravenous energy. So some people could get obsessed with money during this influence. But the best thing is just working towards building patiently and steadily towards accumulation, possessions, as well as building your own self-esteem on your journey to maximize your bank account. So pay attention to any, downloads that come in around that, particularly around your finances and things of the like. And the second eclipse, the Sagittarius solar eclipse, so with the second eclipse on December 4th, there is this energy around reflecting what belief systems like you have shed. And this could be, reflecting on certain religions that were no longer serving you, or certain, religious doctrines that have been ingrained into you that just no longer serve, and you're ready for a new start to build belief systems that are truly resonate to the person that you are and what it is that feels good for you to sort of lean into and expand into. And other themes could be, there could be some sort of releasing of a travel plan that no longer, lines for you, but it opens up different opportunities within, your life now. It's like, okay, you have to let go of getting to travel abroad all next summer, but now you have this opportunity to go for this really cool internship that would be a great fit. Some Aries risings could be shedding academic plans that they're no longer interested. They're in their undergrad, or they're planning on getting their master's, and it's just like this energy around this doesn't, feel right. This doesn't feel right for me. There could be something here that I need to sort of shed or release. My Taurus risings, you are embarking upon a very exciting journey, so I'm really excited to chat with you on it. It can be very intense when the eclipses are in your sign. It can be very overwhelming. It can be very intense to have eclipses in your own sign. And for you, the Taurus lunar eclipse on November 19th is the first taste of this journey. And it's this illumination of the person that you are. And it could be an illumination of areas of your life that you have felt inauthentic, and a call to, want to transform into the most authentic, visible version of yourself. It could be a full moon that is sort of like returning to the person that you are and realizing your worth, realizing your value that you bring to every situation. And I'll go into more detail in my upcoming video about North Node shifting into Taurus, but it's important as part of this journey, there is this energy around being a little bit more comfortable in the spotlight getting a little bit more comfortable with visibility, getting more comfortable with your identity. There is this sort of thrusting nature of North Node in Taurus. Typically, North Node can be an energy around collective trends. So people, who have Gemini placements during North Node in Gemini, that could have been more, sort of popular with North Node in Taurus. People can resonate with you or your content if you are someone who's like a public figure in some way a little bit more. It's sort of energy that thrusts you into the spotlight, and you can even be part of trends if that resonates. So with that first illumination, do something to celebrate yourself. There might be certain illuminations of your life where you don't feel like you can be your own person, or where you don't feel like other people recognize your worth. And I just really want you to pour yourself in self-love that day and be open to transforming into your most authentic self, as this lunation does trine Pluto in Capricorn. And then the second eclipse is the story that's sort of wrapping up before you can officially go into this intense North Node in Taurus, journey that you're kind of embarking upon. Is the journey that's wrapping up for you is around shedding the support that, comes to you from others. For the past year and a half, you have been really thrust to perhaps be a primary breadwinner, or perhaps be more independent. You weren't able to be reliant on other people financially. You had to go out and build your own nest egg, and you could have really made leaps and bounds in your financial reality. But with this final, solar eclipse, there can be something that you're sort of releasing, maybe some sort of dream that you had around, well, I'm just gonna, get married and then I'll solve all my problems because that person will take care of me. Not to say that that's not, a good path for you necessarily, but there just can be certain elements of that dream that might not be viable, that might not be true to self, that might not be, your purpose here on this planet. So there could just be certain elements of that you're letting go of. There can be certain grief that you're processing, that you've been holding on to, that you're ready to, sort of wrap up that chapter in order to embark upon a new one, as well as, living from trauma or living from trauma responses. A new story that's beginning is around grounding down into what is physical and tangible within our life. And with South Node Scorpio, it's not that we ignore that stuff and it goes away, but it's sort of this energy around not letting what has held you back hold you back any longer. Grounding down into your goals here, into your values here, and taking one step, one hoof at a time towards, building your dream reality, rather than keeping yourself imprisoned or entrapped into your fears, into where you're resisting change, so on and so forth. So that could be a theme with the second eclipse. Gemini rising, oh my goodness. So good job. You've made it nearly to the finish line. I'm a fellow mutable as well, and it's never really easy when you have the eclipses in your sign. It can be great. It can lead to all sorts of magical changes and transitions within your life. However, it can also be exhausting. So for you, the new story that is beginning will start with the lunar eclipse, which is November 19th. And how I've been describing this eclipse is not so much as this like external manifestation of this journey that we're going on, but more so of this internal knowing, almost like this harbinger of the future and what it'll sort of bring. Particularly for you, pay attention to your dreams, as this lunar eclipse does light up your 12th house of dreams, as well as subconscious processing. And with the eclipse, it's sort of finishing up. There was an emphasis on visibility, on identity, and with North Node going in 12th house, you could just notice, starting with this lunar eclipse, you could feel an intense draw to come inward. You are the social butterflies of the zodiac, but you could just be feeling that you're craving more time at home, that you want to, dive more into your spirituality, that you want to sort of dive into your inner world. How does that you talk to yourself, processing your trauma, processing what you've sort of suppressed within your mind. And I don't want you to, fear that work, because this is the new journey that you are embarking upon, the new area of your chart that you are refining. And for you to show up as your best self in the external world, it takes really doing that healing to an internal level, which is what you're sort of doing. You're cleaning out the closet of your mind. You're doing this deep inner work that you could have at one time feared or ignored. And the journey that's ending for you within your life, when you have North Node in your sign, it indicates you have South Node in your opposite sign. It can be a time of feeling disillusioned and disappointed by the relationships in your life. A lot of you could have had to process really painful breakups, or really painful friend breakups, or just not feeling like you could rely on other people. You had to take care of yourself. And there could be some shedding with the second eclipse, December 4th, around feeling like someone else is going to save you, feeling like someone else, the right partner, the right friend, is going to make your life better, is going to fix you, is going to fix all of your problems. There could be this living in dreamland, holding out for this imaginary person, ignoring the people that are right in front of you. There was this journey for the past year and a half around needing to sacrifice perhaps certain relationships within your life, or perhaps certain dreams that you had for relationships, how they would just, Prince or Princess Charming would sweep in and make all the bad stuff go away, which, unfortunately isn't how it exactly works. But with this new moon, it is a new start in terms of your relationship world, but you're sort of clearing out the clutter in terms of, fantasies of your perfect person that just aren't realistic for what it is that you would genuinely get along with in a life partner, or clearing out any relationship trauma or baggage that has sort of been embarking you down in order to have a really solid foundation with someone new who's healthy, because this does sextile Saturn in Aquarius. And you can also find that, any friendship or partnership that's no longer serving you could come to an end during this time. And with eclipses, it's fated karmic changes. So I don't want you to clamor for them back. If someone tries to break up with you for an eclipse, it's the universe ripping that person from your life because it's not resonant for your soul's journey. These are karmic, fated changes the universe takes and gives during eclipses, okay? Things that are blocking or in the way of your soul purpose and your soul path. So there are many times, when breakups happen during the year that I'm like, okay, maybe, things can work out. But when someone tells me that someone broke up with them during an eclipse, I'm like, okay, that's a huge shift. That's a huge shift, and the universe is actually looking out for you. Their rejection is your protection. My Cancer risings, the first eclipse lights up your 11th house. So the journey that you're embarking upon, or will officially embark upon January, but this sort of like a preview of it, is upon expanding your reach and your influence, getting your business or your name out there to more people. Or maybe it would just be expanding your network, expanding your friendships, joining like-minded organizations, people who get you. But there is this desire to expand the work that you're doing or the person that you are to more eyeballs and to more reach. So during this lunation, you might get a dream or a download or something of the like that, it's your time, and that it's your time to get more eyes on your work. Maybe this is the time that you take social media a little bit more seriously, or that you invest a little bit more into your marketing efforts. Or if you're just a little bit more shy, that you really put in some legwork in terms of making more friends, things of the like, because you can find that North Node brings gain and it brings blessing. So you can find that when you are putting yourself out there in ways that, yes, feel uncomfortable, you're getting more recognition, more response, and more fulfillment when you embark upon it. You are also, with this full moon, there can be an illumination of a hope and dream that you have for the future, a humanitarian goal that you want to embark upon. So maybe for you, it's not so much a personal business that you want to get out there, but it's more so like a cause, like you want to band together with other individuals who are as passionate as you are about a topic that you feel very strongly about. There's an illumination of that with this full moon. And you can be feeling optimistic about this journey as it does square Jupiter. And the second eclipse finishes out a story that has been playing out in your 6th house. So for you, there could have been some releasing around work opportunities or obligations that just didn't feel resonant with you anymore. You could have felt like your schedule was getting impossible. You were constantly exhausted. You were drained. You weren't able to support yourself health-wise. Like you were just running ragged, right? And you also had just this desire for more sleep, for more healing, to come more inward. And with this final eclipse, there can be, a final release of a job, that is no longer resonant. There can be, a final release of some sort of health problem that's been bogging you down, or just this final release upon identifying your worth with the work that you create and provide. As with South Node, 6th house, any schedule that is unsustainable. Unfortunately, we live in a society where we're all expected to work very unsustainable schedules. It could be the sort of energy where you're just like, I can't keep up with this because this is just not realistic. You know, that solar eclipse does square Neptune in Pisces. So it's like, I'm here trying to work 12 hours a day and then study at night. And I'm not saying give up on those routines, particularly if they've been sustaining you, but it could be an energy around loosening how strict you've been on yourself, or finding a more realistic way to budget your time so that you can ensure that you are resting, that you are attuning to your health, that you're not, burning yourself out, things of the like. And it's creating a new start for you in terms of routine, one that's genuinely nurturing and supportive. My Leo risings, the lunar eclipse in Taurus for you falls in your 10th house of career, public persona, and reputation. So, Leo risings typically are no stranger to attention and adoration, and it's an exciting cycle because you're going to be thrust into the limelight a little bit more. It might even feel overwhelming. There's going to be an emphasis upon your offerings. You're going to be a lot more busy. You're going to get a lot more eyes on your work. You're going to be a lot more thrust into the spotlight. You could find that this is timed with some sort of promotion or some sort of, job that you get that sort of ascends you within the public eye into something that feels more, soul resonant or something of the like. During this full moon, you could get a download or a dream of, what it is that you need to do to advance in your career. You could get strong inspiration of a pivot if you're not happy in your career as it is. Or this could also be, if you're not necessarily someone who works or is concerned with work, this could be an energy around being able to get more eyeballs on what it is that you are passionate about, if it's some sort of cause or some sort of creativity, wanting, more. It's a very public time. So during this eclipse cycle, put stuff out there, get eyes on your work, be prepared, seriously. So I'm a Virgo rising, so I just experienced this, and it's overwhelming. It is an overwhelming transit in terms of how busy you're going to be career-wise. So ensure to take it one step at a time. And with this full moon, it could just be an illumination of, a drastic increase in your social media statistics, or there can be, an influx of orders in your business. There could be a promising conversation with an authority figure and a boss about your advancement plan. Look out for those inspirations within your inner world and your external world. Then the second eclipse, the cycle it's finishing off, is in your 5th house, which is creativity, romance, and children. Not saying you're sacrificing any children, oh my goodness, but there is an energy around sacrificing things and hobbies that are no longer as fun for you any longer. Like, you've really been doing a lot of work. You've been really doing a lot of work on staying focused on your hopes and dreams this past year and a half. And you've had to sort of shed things that are no longer as fun. You used to love, day drinking mimosas all day, but now you might have found that you don't have the time to do that. And your friendships could have had to shift as a result. Some individuals could find that this eclipse is timed with the end of a situationship or a fling that, isn't supporting your journey forward. And that's, fine. Typically, if things end during eclipses, trust me when I say that person is not meant for you, okay? Eclipses, things that happen during eclipses are fated. So this ending or this releasing is allowing you to sort of propel forward. Also, there could be certain forms of creativity that you've had to force or you feel like you've been forcing. Just let it go. Just let it go. If it no longer is working for you, this journey has been around being able to clarify your long-time goals and knowing that you are an expanding individual. Things that used to be fun, things that used to be, entertaining for you to do creatively aren't always going to feel that way, and that's okay. My Virgo risings, hello, how are we? The good news is that the nodes have almost shifted out of our modality, which is great news. I'm there with you. I'm a Virgo rising, and it's been a little overwhelming, but the first lunar eclipse in the new story, even though the nodes have not officially shifted, will be November 19th. And for us, it lands in our 9th house of beliefs, travels. There could be illumination around future travel plans that we want to make. There can be illumination around, oh my goodness, I want to go get my master's, or I want to go invest in my education. I want to expand my, worldview. I want to spend more time in spirituality. There really could be a call around wanting to expand our vision. You guys have had so many career transits as of late. Saturn's in your 6th, Jupiter's in your 6th. North Node is in your 10th. There's been a lot of focus on work, which is all well and good, but there can be this call with this new moon, this full moon, like, wow, I've been so focused on getting my name out there, getting my business out there, getting this promotion, that there's really been elements of myself that I've been neglecting. And with this with this eclipse, it could be like a craving of a return to self. And the eclipse on December 4th is in your 4th house of home, family, and emotional state, which can feel scary, but there can be certain elements of perhaps letting go of a home that's no longer resonant for your path forward, or letting go of, certain toxic relationships within your family, or even certain, ways that you've kept yourself in delusion by, not acknowledging your more unhappy emotions, like just keeping yourself constantly optimistic, not wanting to like dive deep. And with this new moon, it's really this energy around, okay, I'm going to shed this positive Pollyanna, toxic positivity, and really be able to integrate all of my emotions, good and bad. There could be an end in regards to our property, saying goodbye to a roommate, saying goodbye to some sort of, emotional pattern that's no longer serving us, or letting go of some sort of reliance or some sort of dynamic within our family unit. In Libra risings, the Taurus Lunar Eclipse will fall within your 8th house. So this could be an illumination of the support that you receive from other people. It can be an energy around realizing, wow, other people do have my back. Maybe it's your spouse, helping you out while you sort of adjust to your new financial reality. Maybe it's, getting child support, getting alimony. Maybe it's just feeling more supported by the universe. It's realizing that we are not in here alone, and you're not in this on your own. With this full moon, it's a return to what it is that supports you without you physically having to put the work in. So it can be an illumination around your spouse's income. It can be an illumination of other support that you receive, but this is a new journey that's beginning. So it's a harbinger of this new story that's initiating, which is around feeling less like it's all on you, it's all on your shoulders, having this burden of anything that you want, feeling like you have to get it yourself, to leaning into other avenues where support can reach you, whether it's loved ones helping you out, supporting you, other ways that money can make its way to you, or support can make its way to you. And the second eclipse is in Sagittarius, which is in your 3rd house. So this is sort of wrapping up a story that's been playing out for the last year and a half around being less interested in small talk and chatting just to chat. There could have been certain dynamics you're ready to let go of in terms of your neighbors, or in terms of your siblings, certain communication styles within yourself that you're just ready to let go of. You just could have noticed over this past year and a half, you haven't been feeling particularly chatty. You don't want to necessarily connect with your other contexts. You're more so concerned on broader picture goals and visions and spiritualities that have been sustaining you. So with this new moon, it could just be a shedding of, certain contexts in your immediate environment that are no longer resonant for you, certain dynamics within your siblings or extended family that's no longer resonant for your soul, as well as certain methods of communication that just aren't cutting it for you any longer. My Scorpio risings. Okay, are you sitting down? Are you ready for this? Not always easiest to hear, but let's breathe, because we're going to get through it. And let me preface by saying the changes that'll take place for the next year and a half are things that will bring you closer to your soul's purpose and what you are here on this planet to do. Okay? Got that? So let's talk about these eclipses. So the first one is a lunar eclipse in the 7th house. And I say this because when North Node or South Node is in our sign, it's typically a year and a half that is littered with all sorts of drastic changes, right? And for yours, a lot of those may play out within relationships. And so the first taste of this journey you get is on the first eclipse, November 19th, which is in the sign Taurus, and it is in your 7th house. So there can be illumination in 7th house. There could be illumination in terms of your partnerships, your relationships, in terms of the ideal person that you want to work with, that you want to partner with, your ideal, mate, your ideal lover, anything of the like. There can be this true desire for, someone that you truly value in some way. There can be events that transpire during this eclipse, such as meeting someone significant, or getting an offer from, a partner, or just pay attention to what comes up around this eclipse, around relationships and partnerships, friendships of all sorts. You can even get a dream about, the person who's coming into your life, or you could even just, meet someone significant. If you are committed in a partnership, there can be an illumination around the value that the person brings to your life. So pay attention to what comes up on the first eclipse. And the second eclipse is more so wrapping up the last nodal cycle with a little bow on it. So there's this energy around a final, sacrifice upon any sort of mindset that has been rather materialistic. There could be a loss of some sort of stream of income, or a loss of interest in really wanting to, just earn more and more and more so that you can buy more and more and more, a desire to want to like sort of get out of the trap and look for other ways that money can come your way. It could be, you know, if you do lose a job or a stream of income during this time, with this new moon sextiling Saturn and Aquarius, it can be setting you up for a career that is much more soulful, that is much, you know, more aligned with your paths. And Saturn, you know, is in your 4th house, so it's really clarifying your foundations, things of the like. It could be, you know, a new start for you that's sort of hidden as an ending, right? Because that's how new starts are. And you will want to check back for the video that I'm making on the North Node shifting, because let me just say, fixed signs, it's going to be, you guys are going to be the main characters of this next eclipse cycle. My Sagittarius risings, the harbinger of the future, so the sort of preview of what the next year and a half holds, will be the Taurus Lunar Eclipse, which is on November 19th. And for you, it is in your 6th house of service, small animals. You could definitely expect during eclipse season, you're gonna be busy. You're gonna be busy, busy, busy. So definitely allot some space in your schedule. You could just notice errands are getting super busy. Your small animals might need more attention. Your boss might put more work on your plate. There's more energy around your coworkers. They're giving you tasks. Expect to feel a lot more busy. During this full moon, there can be an illumination around your health, craving a new diet or a new lifestyle change, or having a, you know, this culmination feeling around, okay, I can't keep eating this way, or I haven't been paying attention to my diet. I've been paying attention to how all the details of my life are making up the big picture. So it's sort of this call around, okay, if I were to take the microcosm of your day, does it reflect the macrocosm of your goals? So if you want to be a painter, are you painting every single day? You want white sparkly teeth, are you brushing and flossing every single day? So on and so forth. It really is a culmination. It really is this inspiration around your daily routine and really wanting to refine it. And it'll be an energy that you're going to be working on in the next year and a half, as well as, you know, building service. You could be getting another job, or, you know, wanting to be of service. You can, you know, be taking health a little bit more seriously, whether it's for yourself or embarking upon some sort of health career or something of the like. Then the second eclipse is in your 1st house. So for you, with South Node transiting, you know, congratulations Sagittarians, because South Node transiting your sign can be a very confusing time. As I likened it earlier, it's sort of like this vacuum sensation where it just sort of like sucks up anything that's not resonant. When it's in your 1st house of identity, it can be a very confusing time. It can be like sort of a loss of identity, of like who you are. You can feel like a ghost in some ways. And so with this particular eclipse, with South Node, you know, transiting the 1st house, there was this energy around shedding and releasing any element of your identity that was no longer resonant. You could have had to rely on individuals in a new way. You could have not felt your typical magic that you typically have. You know, your ruler Jupiter has been in a Saturn ruled sign, so it's kind of limiting your magic. And then South Node transiting, it's like you typically are someone who's so strong and so resolute around your vision and what it is that you're creating, that, you know, this time of being confusion on your path or direction could have felt very confusing. You've had to rely on other people and their perspectives a little bit more to get you through it. And luckily, you're almost done with this. It can be very confusing yet very spiritual time, because you're sort of not only surrendering to your interpersonal relationships, but to a larger extent also sort of surrendering to forces beyond you in some way. South Node in traditional astrology was rather spiritual influence. So this new moon on December 4th, you know, it is the culmination of this, and it is a new moon. So it is sort of a collective new start. So there can be certain elements of your identity where it's not authentic to the person that you are. You don't want to come off in these ways. This isn't the vision that you necessarily wanted for yourself. So I want you to really lean into the spiritual influences of this eclipse, as well as just lean into the whispers from spirit or intuition on maybe showing up in a different way, or maybe this isn't necessarily the path or the quest or the desire for meaning that feels soul resonant any longer. My Capricorn risings, the lunar eclipse in Taurus lands in your 5th house, and this is sort of like a sneak peek of the story that'll play out for the next year and a half, officially beginning in January when the North Node shifts. But for you, it's lighting up your 5th house, which is self-expression, creativity, and children. So there can be a call, you know, you are typically someone who's like all work and no play. And with this, you know, full moon, there might be like a call around wanting to have more fun within your life. You might find during this eclipse, you're feeling a little bit more risky. You want to gamble, you want to have more fun, you want to enjoy life. maybe there is a call to want to be more creative. Maybe your dreams are inspiring you, or you're just realizing like, wow, I don't really have anything that just makes my inner child happy, right? Maybe every time you go to sit down to create something, you know, your mind gets in the way around, okay, how am I going to market this? And what's my price tag on it going to be? That you forget to just lean into the energy of creating, like how kids create, right? They aren't worried about if the market's going to like it, what demographic. They just create. It's just play. It's just fun. It's not thinking. It's just doing. And with you as a Capricorn rising, there can be this energy around anything that you do needs to be productive enough, right? And with this, you know, new story ongoing, it's around building things that just make you feel happy, learning to live in the moment, learning to ground down within your physical body, learning to follow your impulses, follow what feels good. Some Capricorn risings could go on a journey around trying to have children or wanting to have children, or just deepening their connections with their children. And the story that is finishing up for my Capricorn risings is around, you know, shedding what was not serving, around your subconscious processing, really diving deep. Could have found this has been a really busy year and a half. You've been packed with things, and you've been packed, and you really haven't had a lot of solitude nor been interested in solitude. There can have been a letting go of certain subconscious processing, you know, ways that you spoke to yourself that no longer resonates. You could have not really been interested in spirituality and, you know, losing yourself within your own dreams and connections and downloads. You've been really trying to ground down into what's real and practical within your life. There could have been, you know, a desire to want to refine your lifestyle to make it supportive of your mental health. And with this final new moon eclipse, there is this new start that's taking place in terms of your, you know, your mental health. It's this really like new start within it, and it's sort of like clearing out what is not working, the way of talking to yourself that is not working, the way of processing your trauma that is not working, the way of, you know, avoiding or escaping from your problems that is not working, and sort of being able to move forward with more stability and structure within our life. My Aquarius risings, the Taurus Lunar Eclipse will land in your 4th house of home, family, and emotional state. And may I just say that, you know, fixed signs are the main character. You've got, you know, Saturn in your sign, and you've got now the North and South Node about to shift into your modality. Definitely expect, you know, 2022 and by the end of 2023 being a changed person, but, you know, let's lean into it in positive ways. And with this, you know, first eclipse being sort of a preview for that journey you're embarking upon, what is sort of this call to action is around home, family, and emotional state. Do you feel stable and grounded at home? There could be events that transpire around the first eclipse, November 19th, that make you really sharpened into focus what it is that you want in a home, what it is that you want in roommates. If you really want to live with your partner, what it is that makes you feel safe. It's like building your life from the inside out. So with this full moon, it's really acknowledging, do I feel safe in my home? Do I feel happy? Do I feel happy with myself to an intrinsic level? There's also emphasis around family. So perhaps wanting to move closer to family, maybe wanting to have a family, maybe wanting to build your home. There really is a call with this new cycle beginning around drawing deep to what is the most private and personal within your world. And with the second eclipse, the story that you're sort of wrapping up, Aquarius, is around shedding, you know, friendships that were no longer resonant, shedding goals and dreams that you had for the future, that it's like, okay, that's no longer what I want. Some Aquarius sun and risings can find that, you know, during this influence, they were less interested in wanting to make everyone like them or be, you know, the most persuasive person, or, you know, try to have the biggest friend group. They're like, what's the point of that? Trying to appease all of these people that I don't care about. There was really this call for authenticity. There's a call for self-expression. And this final eclipse is sort of like this new start. It's a shedding, right? It's something that you're shedding, whether it's around a hope and dream that you have for the future, a community that's no longer resonant, or certain friendships that are no longer resonant, that sets you up for, you know, that sets you up for your future, that feels resonant, that feels soul inspired, the community of like-minded individuals who really see the world the way that you do. My Pisces sun and risings, thank you so much for your patience. So for you, the lunar eclipse in Taurus is wrapping up this. The lunar eclipse in Taurus is the beginning of this journey that you're having around communication. You can find that you know, Taurus rules the throat, and third house is communication and words. You could find during this time that you're gonna want to speak more, and it can be, you know, seen as more valuable from people. This could be, you know, a journey where you're wanting to get your thoughts out there, whether it's like YouTube or wanting to write a blog or wanting to get more into social media. And I just mentioned the throat thing just because, you know, you could just be building your throat chakra and your voice, and it can come across to other people as more pleasurable during this time. Again, don't feel like during this, you know, full moon in Taurus, you need to have all this done. It's the whisper and the preview of the journey that will take place in the next year and a half. So you could just get this download of a book you want to write, or a blog post you want to do, or a YouTube channel you want to create, and be like, okay, this is my particular journey that I'm embarking upon. There could also be a call around any sort of sibling affairs, neighbor affairs, your immediate surroundings, as well as perhaps a download or inspiration around learning a new skill, learning a new topic, gaining a new certification. And the journey that you are finishing off is wrapping up with the Sagittarius solar eclipse on December 4th, which lands in your 10th house of career, public persona. And it's a shedding of, you know, a career path that you thought you wanted. Like, you could find over the last year and a half, you had to let go of a certain industry or a certain path that wasn't soul aligned any longer. And with this final eclipse, there could be, you know, some sort of temptation to go back to it, or it could be a final release of it, finally closing the door on it to start a new particular journey. And it's sort of just like shedding what isn't logical or realistic necessarily in terms of career, and really prepping for our new start. Friends, thank you so much for listening to the end. I'm appreciative for every single person who's listening to this. Again, no fear when we're talking about eclipses. I know it can seem rather scary and intense, but I promise the changes that are taking place during this time are for your best good. They are soul aligned. You are aligned with the divine. Let me know what resonated below. My Instagram handle is @HaleyCometAstrology. My TikTok is the same. I would love to connect with you over there. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.